Welcome everyone to this game at the ChessBase India Chess Club in Phoenix Market City, Mumbai. With the white pieces, we have Samay Raina and he takes on Vishal Dharia, who is a chess coach. And Samay starts black's clock and plays e4. Vishal responds with the Sicilian, knight comes out to f3, d6, pawn to d4, knight takes d4. And now knight comes out attacking the pawn, Samay defends it. And g6, the dragon variation is on the board. Samay plays bishop c4, bishop to g7. Now one of the main lines here is to play bishop e3, f3, queen d2 and long castle. But Samay goes for the more steady approach with short castling here. Vishal also short castles, and this is quite a pleasant position for black out of the opening. It's still theory. Vishal is a chess coach and also a 1400 rated player. Rookie 1 played, FIDE rated player. And this is a nice move by Samay, because if you see, the rook is looking at the e7 pawn. So at some point, if you can play knight here, and if black takes and pawn takes, then the e file opens up. Vishal has also beaten myself at the club. I was the first. It was my first ever loss at the club. The video is there on ChessBase India. So this is a very, very tough game for Samay against such a strong opponent. Knight comes out to c6, attacking the knight on d4. And Samay plays pawn to h3, an interesting move, a very useful move by the way, and a move that maybe only professional players would make. He stops knight g4 ideas and also bishop g4 ideas in the position. Generally here, black has few plans. One is rook bishop d7, rook c8, take control of the semi-open c file. Second is to play a6 and then b5, expanding on the queen side. So with these ideas, I think black's position is pretty straightforward. One more is that you can take here and then play bishop d7 to c6. You can see that Vishal is taking his time to figure out what should be the right way to continue. Samay has 9 minutes 19 seconds, Vishal has 8 minutes 24 seconds. There's no increment, it's just pure 10 plus 0. Also, Samay really likes playing against strong opponents, so this one is a big challenge for him. Now d4 knight is put under pressure. If you take on c6, then after b takes c6, black's center is strengthened. At the same time, if you play knight b3, your bishop would have wanted to take this square up. So maybe the best move is knight f3, which is slightly anti-intuitive because the knight generally doesn't go here in the Sicilian. I don't know if Samay will play that move. He's touching the knight. Most of the people would take it, but he goes knight f3. Wow, what a nice move by Samay. And also, now e5 definitely remains an idea in the position. e5 takes, knight takes and rook takes. The rook would be very well placed there, putting pressure on the e7 pawn. Now, how does black continue from here? Because the queen has come in between. The plan of bishop d7, expanding on the queen side, it's not so well placed. Also, with bishop coming back to b3, white can then play bishop e3 and attack the queen. And this rook on e1 is such a nice little subtle move, putting pressure on e7 pawn. Samay also has a minute extra on the clock. a6 played, which is generally a very useful move in the Sicilian. Pawn to a6, taking control of this square, and if the queen goes back, then knight b5 ideas hitting the queen won't be possible. 8 minutes 30 seconds. What does Samay do now? I think one normal idea is bishop b3 to prepare bishop e3. There's also knight d5 here. Actually, I like this move a lot, because after you take, I hit your knight and I hit the pawn on e7. So knight d5 is definitely making very good use of this move, rook e1. But Samay plays rook b1. He wants to defend the pawn here. He doesn't want to drop the bishop back to b3, and he wants to play bishop e3. That's the reason why he's played his rook to b1. But that move is not as useful, I would say, because the rook does nothing much on the b1 square apart from defending the b2 pawn. Now, Vishal is thinking what to do. We have only played 11 moves and both the players have used quite some time on the clock. So it is becoming very intense game. Samay is matching move for move against his highly rated opponent. He also mentioned that his rating on Chess.com is around 2000. So he's definitely a tough opponent. Queen c7 played by Samay, attacking the bishop on c4. Now, one idea can be to drop back the bishop, and that is something that you want to do, but then when you go here, knight a5 and then attacking this pawn could become possible. So Samay here, he does go bishop b3. We have to see what Vishal comes up with. I like the move knight a5, but he goes b5, which is also nice. With this, he is expanding on the queen side. He's telling Samay that my move which brought the queen out here was not that great. I'm ready to accept my error, go back, prepare my bishop coming out on this or this square, get my rook to c8, and that is how he wants to play. And now Samay is ready to move his dark squared bishop, but to which square exactly? I would really love putting the bishop on g5, because then you have an idea to take and jump with the knight and then take this bishop and spoil the entire structure. So bishop g5 does look right, but he goes a4. Ooh, that's a very, very professional move, I would say. You know, often white jumps on d5 in such positions, but Samay realized that if I provoke a4, b4, which has happened, and then I jump, it might be to my benefit. And this is actually high level stuff here shown by Samay. This is something that experienced Sicilian players do. I don't know if Samay knew this idea or he came up over the board. Okay, knight takes. Very natural now is to take with the pawn. Yes, it blocks your bishop. It makes it passive, but it opens up the e file. And so that would be good. But no, Samay takes with the bishop. Now, this move, not particularly great, because the rook is not opened up. Bishop b7 played by black. Black's position looks quite good now, with the dragon bishop breathing fire on the long diagonal, the other bishop taking up this diagonal, the rook ready to come here, the pawn on b4 pressurizing black's queen side, white's queen side. White is actually at a small loss here as to what to do. What should be white's plan? I don't think you can play c3. It's already very well protected. You want to play maybe bishop f4 or bishop g5, putting pressure here. But I think Samay comes up with a very interesting move. He touches the bishop and he plays bishop f4. And his point was, if you play e6, he wants to take here and then chop off this pawn on d6. That's what his idea is. That's the reason why he has played his bishop to f4. Both players very equally placed on time as well as position. Rook a d8 played by Vishal. He says, now my pawn is protected here. I'm ready to push with e6. So Samay has to decide now what to do. Next, he plays queen d2. I really like this move. Not only does he connect the rooks, but he also prepares bishop h6, exchanging this all-important bishop on g7, which is a very nice piece that black has. So black now needs to come up with an idea. The rook a d8 was more like a prophylactic move. It was like, I can play e6. Does he want to go e6 now? Because then Samay can simply drop back, or even he can take and then play his bishop here. But more importantly, the pawn on b4 is hanging. So clearly a threat is in the air. Samay has created a threat of taking on c6 and taking on b4. So that pawn needs to be defended, and look at the time. Black is down to 5 minutes. If Samay can put a 1400 rated player under such pressure, then one can only imagine what his strength would be. a5 played by Vishal. Good move there, defending the pawn on b4. And what is Samay planning to do? He goes with his plan ahead. Yes, bishop h6. Good move. This bishop is a strong piece. We exchange it so that the bishop is no longer breathing down this diagonal. And Vishal now needs to decide what his next move is. The pressure is building up. e6 played. And now Samay can take on c6, he can take the knight, he can take the bishop, he can also bring his bishop back so that, you know, the bishop remains on the board. But I have a feeling that this bishop isn't doing much on this diagonal. It is blocked by the black pawns, so it must perhaps exchange itself. He wants to take the knight, but first he takes the bishop. Logical, because if you take this bishop, the rook is hanging, so king takes the bishop, and now Samay can chop off the knight there on c6. Now 19 moves into the game. This is the 20th move played. He takes it. White is still doing quite well, and so is black. It's an equal position. Do you take with the queen and build this battery down the wrong diagonal, or you take with the bishop and then put your queen behind the bishop, which may make more sense? He takes with the bishop. Now the a4 pawn is hanging. You need to protect it. A normal move would be b3, and then the position is equal. Although I like black's chances, the c pawn is weak. No, Samay plays c4. His idea is, if you do en passant, he wants to take here and give a check. That's very wise, but he forgets that his a4 pawn is hanging, and Vishal takes it. But Samay does not even blink. He plays b3, and he's like, it's okay if I lost a pawn, because now I have a nice structure here. My queen can go in, give a check. My rook can move to a1 and attack the weakness on a5 pawn. But a pawn is a pawn. Bishop c6 back. Vishal is under full control. The position looks quite bad for white. What does Samay do next? Well, he plays rook a1, a useful move, putting pressure on the a5 pawn. Another sign of a good player is that they constantly keep looking at where the weaknesses are in the position and then attack them. That's what Samay has done. Vishal goes back with his rook to a8. Again, a logical move. And Samay plays queen to d4 check. This is quite a useless move, because now e5 is going to hit the queen and also give black a lot of control in the center. I think Vishal can play that. He has 3 minutes 34 seconds. Also from his body language, you can sense that he feels he has very good chances now. And so Samay needs to move the queen, but where exactly would he go to is the question. He goes queen d3. He plays his queen. No, he wants to go to d2. d3 played. This is a little dubious square, because if black gets a successful f5, e4 would fork these two pieces. He goes f5. Bold play there by Vishal, and Samay takes it. Notice that e4 does not win material because queen moves up and gives a check. So for now you can't do it, but rook takes f5 is a strong move. You bring your rook into the game, put pressure here, and white is in trouble, because if you play knight d2, still this bishop angling here and the rook looking there is very strong. But generally in such positions, a good idea is to take with the pawn, because that gives you more center control. But with this, there are more weaknesses, and look at Samay goes knight g5. Excellent move. Threatening knight e6 check. A mega fork incoming on this square, and also the king has been a bit exposed. Rook e8 is definitely the best move, bringing the rook in, but he goes rook f6. That is a mistake, because now Samay can take and fork. Nobody goes queen g3, which is also quite a dangerous move, because he's looking for knight e6 check, a discovered check here. King goes back to h8, a very logical move for sure. But how should white continue the attack? Samay goes queen h4. I like how he's maintaining a minute's edge on the clock against his strong opponent. Queen h4, putting pressure here, also looking at this rook, which is slightly hanging on f6. A good idea now is queen g7. Technically black is completely winning, because there would be pressure here and here. He goes rook to g8, but he forgets that his rook on f6 is hanging. Can Samay find knight takes h7? No, it's not an easy move, because g2 is also hanging with the bishop's control. Will you take it? Oh, he takes it. Knight takes h7, giving up this pawn on g2, so that there is a discovered check on the king, and also the rook is hanging. The game is heating up considerably now. Samay has 3 minutes 21 seconds. Vishal has 2 minutes only left on the clock, and he's under big pressure because everyone's just stood up and is watching the game, and a table falls next to it. Although both players don't get really bothered by that, the game is continuing. Samay, of course, tries to pick up the pieces that have fallen down and is trying to give back. But oh, Vishal takes on G2 and Samay goes king F1. The best move there in the position. He's helping others. He's also saving his own position. Whoa, the man is multitasking here. Now, what's next for black? He is in trouble because queen takes h7, knight, the f6 rook is hanging. You don't want to give up material. Rook g6 played, which is a good move. Here, the reason for that is that after you are losing material, let's just see how this game continues. It's getting very sharp. Knight f6 check, attacks the king. King can't go to g8. He has to come to g7 and then a check from here and you lose the queen. Is Samay actually lost here? Is winning here, or is he losing? Because there's also a mating attack coming in on the white king. If the bishop sits here, takes away the escape route of the king, it can be a massive attack with forced mate coming in. Samay goes knight f6 check. The king has to go to g7. There's no other move. You can't do anything else. Come on, Vishal, what are you thinking? The other all moves lead to a mate. Queen takes h6 is coming in. So you need to move the king, but he's so surprised with this. He's so worried. He has 1 minute 15 seconds only. Samay has 2 minutes 41 seconds. King g7. A check on h7. King takes knight and Samay takes the queen. But guys, the game is not over. As we just discussed, if Vishal can find this move, yes, he finds it. Bishop f3. Now it's a mate here. Samay takes the pawn. And now very important to go to f7 to draw. No, he goes to g7, which is a big mistake. If he had gone king f7, this wouldn't have come with a check and the game would have been ended in a perpetual. But now after this, he goes king h7 and Samay has a forced win. How does the forced win work? You go queen e7 check, and that's what he does. He gives this check. Now if you go to h8 here, then there is queen f8 check, king h7, and the rook enters in and it's a mating attack. And if you go king to g8, then the same thing. I go d8 and my rook enters in. So that's the reason why he goes to h6. But now Samay can spot a very important move. He goes queen e3. What a move. The bishop is loose and hanging. Samay looks at his opponent, smiles. Vishal also smiles. He knows the game is over, because once this bishop falls, the king will escape from here and it's all done and dusted. Samay Raina is winning here. Vishal still continues because he hopes that there is some bit of tricks left in the position, but there are none. Queen takes f3. White is a complete queen up. Nothing less, nothing more. King comes to e2. Rook checks in there. And now Samay calmly moves his king. Not only has he an extra queen on the board, he also has so much more time on the clock. Seriously, what is Samay Raina doing? Is he going on his tours and doing stand-up comedy, or is he practicing chess? The Pikachu comes on the board. Great game there by Samay, who then analyzes like a professional player. So much of maturity coming in to him as a chess player. It's just amazing to see him grow and develop.